Maple syrup. Hey, which kid is there talking to you?
Oh, Gabriel.
Hi, Gabriel. How you doing, buddy?
He's
It's
delivering in
Maple
the right
syrup
way.
show, Gabriel.
You need to go to bed, babe. It's 9 o'clock.
No, I want to see the show.
No, he needs to go
hey, everybody, we're here.
Hello.
It's Maple. How are you?
Hi.
Hi, Amy. We're here tonight, and it is what is it? November 17th. Wow, it's like
yes, already
almost the end of the year. How did that happen? There's like 4 more weeks left of school. My students are like chomping at the bit to be done. They've had it. They're like at the end of their ropes, I think. And we're all here at the Maple Syrup Show, and it is 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time, where Erica and I are. But where Amy is, it is 6 p.m. So, yeah, we are here today with Amy Baio. She is coming to us live from the West Coast of America, and she is the designer of games like Rabbit Rabbit. And can you name some of the other games that you've done lately?
You think you know me? And
I
flatter
think
me.
I know you.
Yeah. and flatter me, a compliment battle card game.
Right, I love that title. That is so awesome. A compliment battle card game. I mean, who wouldn't want to play that?
I mean,
competitive compliments.
We once had this tiebreaker in a game that Josh Capel thought of, and it's whoever can convince, or what is it? Whoever argues the best that it's not that they shouldn't win the tiebreaker is it wins the tiebreaker, and that's kind of like a compliment battle game. I think it's has that same kind of oxymoron to it.
Where you're
It's like,
hyping up the other person.
Yeah, exactly, to try to win thing. But hey, Amy.
Hi.
How did you start gaming, and why'd you start designing, and why'd you start publishing, and all the above? Can you give us a little bit of your origin story? Yeah.
Yeah, I came up with the idea for You Think You Know Me in my kitchen in May 2017. And I basically just said to my child, I was like, I just had an idea for a game. And he's a big video gamer. So he was like, a video game? And I was like, no, a card game. And he was like, what? Because he knows me. And he knows that, like, this is weird. This is out of character for me. And I was like, yeah, so you would do this, and it's inspired by the assumptions we all make about each other, and we all think we know so much, but there's always more to learn. And he was like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds, really interesting. And so I kind of fleshed it out and told my husband about it like a couple days later after I kind of formed the idea in my head and started writing cards. And from then, so that was May and June. I was playtesting. In July, I had a prototype made. In August, I did my Kickstarter video. In September, I did my Kickstarter, and I was hooked. I mean, really, from the moment I started playtesting, I was just vibrating. I was just like, this is so much fun to watch people connect over something that was in my head, and I thought would be a fun idea. But going backwards a little, I think I'm very inspired because of the work my husband has done for years and years. So my husband Andy Baio runs XOXO Fest here in Portland, Oregon, and he brings together all kinds of independent makers from all over the world, and people live and work independently. And they create all kinds of art, from movies, podcasts, music, video games, board games, and I've been surrounded by this for years, and I never saw myself as a maker. And then once I had the idea in my head, I just was like, this one I'm going to do, because of course I've had a million ideas in my life, but I was like, no, this is this means something to me, and I want to do it. And yeah, from that, like I said, I just really had the bug to keep going.
Right. And did you play a lot of games as a kid?
Sure, but not excessively. I mean, weirdly enough, I have a cousin named Amy. So Amy and I used to play games.
Okay.
We played games when we were kids. Like she was my person that I played games with. We were a year apart, and so those are my memories of playing games. Just playing with her, like Chaos and that weird memory game where you have the little balls, and like I'm talking really old stuff. Like there's old stuff in the cupboards, like games from the 60s and 70s were in the cupboards. Like we would just pull out whatever, early 80s, yeah.
Right, and so hobby gaming wasn't really a thing that you were ever totally into.
Oh no.
Those
but
are
you
all
decided,
classic, like family
yeah,
and plastic, if you really think about it, right?
yeah.
I mean, I love
And then you,
and all that kind of stuff,
mm-hmm,
Real Pursuit, yeah,
sure,
yeah,
the regulars, the standards,
yeah.
Scrabble,
Boring.
Monopoly.
Sorry, everyone.
It's
That's
true.
it.
Or are you saying you're boring? Or are you saying those games are boring?
No, I'm saying I didn't pursue other games. Those were that's what I had on hand.
And I think that's okay though. I think when you come to gaming with a fresh perspective and a new twist on things, sometimes it's because you played a lot of games and so you know what's missing, and sometimes it's because you haven't played a lot of games and you're just doing what's in your heart. And I think that's fair as well. There's a big kind of like an axiom in design land where it's like play as many games as you can to understand the market. It's like okay, but do you have to? I don't think you necessarily have to. I'd say you do if you're duplicating something and you're trying not to duplicate something, but you are duplicating it. Maybe you should play it to find out that this is the same and I shouldn't pursue this. But I think when you're coming to it fresh with interesting ideas, the stodgy designers in a lot of the forums tend to shoot people down, and they think they're doing them a service. And in retrospect, they kind of are in a lot of ways. But also, I hope that it doesn't kill anybody's passion for it when a bunch of old dudes who have made a game or two say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that because," and they reel off like
I think it depends
20
on how
million reasons why
you
not
how
to.
you present it. Let's be honest, because it's like if you're venturing cautiously somewhere, you don't want to be like immediately like shut down and stomped out, right? I think there's it might be a service, but only if the person stays afterwards, and I don't know if
Right.
that's a guarantee.
No, I don't think it is either. Amy, you've been, I think it was basically 2020 and 2021 where we all sort of connected in different spaces on different social media platforms. Are you part of like the design forums on Facebook or anything?
Yeah, I tried to. I think I got involved with that kind of part of things early on in the pandemic. I didn't even know
Hmm.
they existed. So
Right.
20 years.
One of those things when you're like, oh, my people are out there.
I was like, oh look,
Perhaps.
maybe you'd be interested. I don't know. And it is hit or miss for me because I do make conversation games. I do make games that are on the sweeter, kinder side that are card games. I realize this is not for some of the Facebook groups that I do belong to now, but I've still learned so much by being in there. But yeah, I think, let's see, I started the Kickstarter for Flatter Me in March of 2020. So
Good
yeah,
timing.
that's when that happened. So that's when I popped on to all the Facebook groups and I was like, oh wait, there's so many people out here. So yeah, that's when all of that started rolling for me. So I was already making games and not really playing games for a long time and slowly learned about the communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different types of games out there.
Yeah. Let's talk about your design philosophy because I think it's quite different than most people in the hobby sphere, at least. Um, what makes a Pink Tiger game a Pink Tiger game, and why did you pick that tact?
Yeah, well, for me, I've never been diagnosed as neurodivergent, but I could see how I probably am. So the idea is that all my games should be inclusive. All my games should use gender inclusive language whenever possible. And why can't it always be possible? My games have to be kind, so nobody should ever feel left out. If you don't like a card, I encourage you to just discard it and draw another one. Life is too short. I don't care. Go, play how you want to play and make it fun for you and whoever you're playing with. The game rules have to be easy to learn. This is not, a 3-hour tutorial. Nothing wrong with that either, but that's not what you're coming for Pink Tiger.
So that's not the experience you're presenting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go do it. But my brain can't hang with you. Yeah, simple, easy to learn rules. You can basically take it out of the box and play it without reading the rules if you really want to, and have variation in the rules. So you think you know me, super easy. Flatter Me is for 2 people, but you can make it your own. I also wrote the cards to also be given as individual gifts. So each one is like poetic, or it's like poetic or direct, or silly or serious. There's all kinds of compliments and flatter me. And then Rabbit, I just was like, researching superstitions just made me feel so connected all over the world, because there are so many superstitions that are repeat throughout all different kinds of cultures, all through all of time. Like, everyone has always been wishing on stars and trying to plant the right seeds in order to watch whatever in their life they want to grow, wealth or love or family or whatever it is. So I was just like, oh, this is amazing. So the more I playtested Rabbit, the more I saw people sharing their own stories of their own superstitions or their own lucky this or lucky that. And so that's sort of that's what makes a Pink Tiger Games game, is just being kind and inclusive, easy to learn. Yeah.
Okay. And you are the sole owner, designer, dishwasher, cutlery person.
Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah, my husband does do all of the layout for me when we do.
Okay.
Yeah, so he lays out all the cards. He writes the rule booklets too. So I write out how I want the rules to go. We obviously play a lot. And then he rewrites them so the masses understand them, and it's not in my amazing, snowball brain. Like, we can, make them easy and accessible for everyone. Yeah, he's a great writer. And like I said, when we design the boxes, in the past, we've had 2 artists so far, and this 3rd one for my 4th game coming up. But I designed You Think You Know Me with Andy, the package. We did that sort of together. I drew it out with crayons, and then it became what it is. So
there you go.
Andy's definitely my right hand, silent partner for sure.
Okay,
that's awesome. Yeah, it's great to have one of those built in that also playtests.
I know.
Right. It sounds like it's becoming a family affair. You're adding Elliot to the design.
Oh, it's like the lockets. It's like everybody gets in on the game design.
Yeah, my 17-year-old came up with some new ideas for my newest game while we were playtesting, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, do you want to be, co-designer on this? And he was like,
free dev. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, and he was like, that'd be cool, and I was like,
aww. Do I get a percentage of the cut?
That's awesome.
Good to live here. I'm just kidding.
Yes. You get room and board, kid. Yes. Very cool. So, hey, Zach Connolly, Adam Young, Andrew Wolf. Andrew says West Coast, best coast, because he is up in that area as well. Yes, although he is Atlanta born and bred, he is very much been on the West Coast for the last couple of years. Zach Connolly asks a question. I'm not sure if you want to answer it, but you can talk about it if you wish. How was the shipping experience for Rabbit with the current state of logistics?
Well, I'm happy to tell you the whole timeline. It was finished at the tail end of July, and it took until September 18th to actually get on a boat. So it went to the docks September 1st, or even before that, maybe a few days at the end of August, it made its way to the docks. Obviously the manufacturer doesn't want to
they don't want to hang on to that.
And it wasn't just Rabbit. I was getting my 4th printing of You Think You Know Me too. So I was, really waiting on both games. So it finally got on the boat September 18th. And then it got to Washington State at around October 11th. And then it cleared customs really quickly. Like, all of that looked good, but I knew that I could not hold my breath, obviously. And then it took another, maybe it arrived to port even before the 11th. I'm probably getting my days a little screwy, but that's the rough timeline. Then it sat on the docks in the container for weeks. So, and then it finally got to me 2 weeks ago tomorrow. It'll be 2 weeks ago tomorrow that I finally received it. So, that's how it went for me. Yeah. Those are my delays.
2 weeks ago today, Amy was supposed to be on this show, but because we thought that she'd be receiving Rabbit,
It was such a
it didn't
frustrating.
happen,
No,
and we were all crying, and it was sad.
I was crying,
It was
and
sad.
believe me, I was at my window like a puppy, waiting for 5 hours in my delivery window.
Oh no!
And then I called, and they were like, "Oh, the driver didn't bring the pallet jack, or sorry, the lift gate. One of the things that he needed, I think it was the lift gate." And I was like, "What? What? You guys didn't think to call me? Like, I had set up a crew to help me unload. I mean, it was
Oh yeah, that's a lot of logistics.
yeah, it was 11,000 pounds of games coming into my home.
Yeah.
So
Right, because you do this all
Right.
yourself.
yeah,
You bring stuff into your house,
Yeah.
pack it up,
Yep.
and you are shipping everything yourself.
yes.
To how many backers? How many backers were you delivering all these things to?
I don't know. All in all, with the orders that I had and everything, I think so far I've already shipped like 1,000, which is great. For many reasons.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So I did about
Yeah. But 1,000 in
less than 2 weeks. Mhm.
oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So that's what
Yeah.
you're doing all day, every day. Okay.
In between pull-ups. So I don't know if y'all know, but Amy can do lots of pull-ups.
It's true.
So she really can.
Yeah.
So in between shipping out your games, she is doing pull-ups.
And this time I put personal notes in every box. Like
What are you kidding me?
What?
I really wanted it to be personal, so I did.
Yeah,
that.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Have that little personal pink tiger touch. I like it.
It's cute, but slightly crazy, but cute.
Yeah. And then you. Oh, that's so nice.
All the games in the back.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll get it. There we go.
There you go. Very cool. And so you said also that this was your 4th printing of Flatter Me. So how many copies of Flatter Me have?
4th printing of You Think You Know Me.
Oh, of You Think You Know Me, right?
Yeah.
Which was the first one. So that's like from 2017. So that's like 4 years. So do you basically like a print run every year?
I do now. Yeah, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many copies of You Think You Know Me have you printed in total, do you think?
First run was 2,000. Second run was 7,500, and then the last 2 have been 2,000.
Okay, good. So you're like over 10,000 copies in the wild, right?
Oh,
because you're not printing and just storing them in your house. That'd be a little weird.
No. I think
they're like out there.
No, that's awesome. There's a lot of hobby games that don't manage like that, even with some support. So
and really like big name designers and artists. So that's great.
Yeah, that first when You Think You Know Me, the first printing happened, I was working with Black Box at that time. So they were Black Box had the first 2 printings of You Think You Know Me. So that was 2 years with them. And then when the pandemic started, I was like, I'm just gonna have Flatter Me and You Think You Know Me brought to my house. Like, and so that's when that began. I kind of went backwards. Like normally you're gonna do some distribution, you stay there, but I was like, pandemic, who knows,
Right.
You want to be in control.
So yeah, and it sounds like you get a lot of joy out of doing that part too, like sending letters to people and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. For me personally, I would be like, distro, take care of everything. I'll pay you to do this. Yeah. And I guess that's the other thing too, Amy. Like you're actually probably making more money doing it yourself because it's your time that you're spending, not your money. You might have slightly less reach currently, but how do you, as a single person, pretty much entity, get your games into places other than online stores or Kickstarter or whatever? Because I think one of the things that fascinated me about your model when you first explained it to me is that like you literally like put your feet to the street and go and talk to stores directly and things like that, whether or not you're actually physically going there. I mean, like you're doing the work of a distributor by yourself.
Yeah.
I reach out to stores that I think would be a good fit, and so far that's done me okay and well. Being in Black Box was great. I mean, it got eyes on my first game, which was great. And when I reached out to other distributors and things, no one would even talk to me. I mean, you probably know this. Like they were like, "Okay, that's cute. Call us when you have 3 or 4
more things." Right? Yeah, exactly.
Like with Kickstarter people, we can't really trust that you're going to see this through. But thanks. Good luck. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, okay, noted, and then I had to think about my next steps. I had the idea for Flatter Me the same summer as I was showing everyone You Think You Know Me. And so I knew that would be next. I just didn't know when it would be. And then I made a mistake in 2018 and I launched a Kickstarter that failed. Because I tried to do an adult version of You Think You Know Me, and
Right.
people didn't want it from me, which is fine. People still ask me about it that did want it, which is wild, but it didn't reach its goal. And I was like, okay, people just, I don't know. It didn't go anywhere, which is fine. But it was a big learning lesson for me to stay true to who I was, because even when I wrote it, it wasn't really true to my personality, but I did have a blast playtesting it. It was really, really and I did make it really queer friendly and super inclusive. It was it's a really fun game. But who knows if it'll ever see the light of day. I don't know.
You never know. There may be life after.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah. And so with getting your games into stores, so explain Black Box, because that's not something that a lot of people in the hobby side actually know about, because it's not really the distributor we would necessarily go to. First off, we're looking at like, ADC and all that kind of stuff, PSI, whatever.
Yeah.
Anything with initials, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I got into Black Box because I printed with Ad Magic for those first two printings of You Think You Know Me. And they were associated with Black Box, Cards Against Humanity, all of that kind of stuff. So once my stuff was at Black Box, they were like, we like this enough that we will put it, into the, in front of people who will, retailers. I don't know what that meant I didn't know what that meant at the time. I just knew that I was getting orders. So I was like, well, they like my game enough to do this. Like some games at Black Box, right? Just, this is my understanding. I could be totally wrong. This is my understanding in 2018 is that they liked my game. It was being warehoused there. So, that led to it being in front of people who would buy it that were retailers. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great. Yeah. And it definitely is a big kind of push for you to get stuff in stores. And now that your name is sort of known and your products are out there, it's like a foot in the door, right? Like a calling card that you can refer to and say, oh, I did that as well. Oh, You Think You Know Me. I love that game. Oh, what do you got now? Right. Whereas if you're just going in kind of cold and you have nothing to, hang your hat on, it's like, I don't know, I guess.
Yeah, one of my most important big retailer relationships, and the biggest one that I have, is Uncommon Goods. They've been phenomenal. They're amazing. So they
and is that a West Coast store?
It is New York, online only. So
okay, cool.
They have warehouses in Nevada as well, and they just have a really nice following, and they put out catalogs throughout the year that people just really love. They're very gifty, but they do all kinds of things: games, jewelry, all kinds of specialty items. And they sold You Think You Know Me for a long time. They sold Flatter Me for a while, and knock on wood, Rabbit will be in their catalog soon, or in the store soon. Yeah.
Can I ask you a bit of a question about, because you're reaching all these different markets that are like quite diverse from each other in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, and non-traditional.
Oh, I'm also curious about so a lot of games need, ratings and reviews. I'm curious, where do you find these collecting for you?
I haven't had a lot of reviews. Like now that Uncommon Goods doesn't have those pages up for You Think You Know Me and Flatter Me, the reviews are gone. Like the pages don't exist anymore. And so we have some on Amazon. I try to, grab them where I can and screenshot them and things like that. But yeah, when people share on social media, things like that. Oh, and that's another thing that I've done. I've reached out to I'm vegan, so I reach out to vegan influencers and lifestyle people, and I'm like, hey, do you want to see my games? And last year that led to Alicia Silverstone putting me in her gift guide, both games that I had last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a really big deal for me too. And and then there was another woman who I really enjoy her content, who is a vegan influencer too, like lifestyle, makeup, things like home, things like that. And she did 2 videos in that featured my games, and I was just blown away. It was tons of views. It was great, and all that cost me was just shipping to her. These are angels.
Yes.
Like, I love them.
Yeah, and did the influencers, or like Alicia Silverstone, did those views translate into sales then?
It was hard to say. I mean, Amazon, everything everywhere where people shop. Like, I don't keep super close tabs on it. I just try to, through the holidays, I just try to keep on rolling out my games as fast as I can. People just buy them where they buy them.
Right. And so, when it comes off of Amazon, are they coming out of a warehouse or out of your house?
Oh, Amazon is FBA, so Fulfilled by Amazon. I send the games to Amazon, and then they ship them out.
Right.
So
Okay, that makes sense.
Are you familiar with Stellar Factory?
No.
All right, Stellar Factory. Gosh, what are some of their titles? They did. Oh, of course, I'm just gonna blank. Strawberry Sunset. Really cute little card games. So my friend is a part of Stellar Factory, and he is right now running Amazon for You Think You Know Me and Flatter Me, and I'm going to run Amazon for Rabbit Rabbit. So it's just something I moved over at the beginning of this year to him because he knows more than I do about Amazon. So that happened too. Oh, and I've been on Fair for a long time too. I don't think Fair. I know some of my game friends are on Fair, but not a lot of people are. It's FAIRE.com. It's a place where retailers.
As in make in French. Okay, I just got that.
Yeah.
It's where retailers can go and buy and find new stuff for their stores. It's great.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, they have special prices and special shipping and all kinds of things like that. So I'm on Fair as well, which also just means that I'll get orders from Fair. I will ship those out, and then Fair pays me. So it's really easy too.
Yeah, it's kind of like semi-consignment-y.
Kind of, yeah. They make some money off of it, but I still make enough, and it's a very posh kind of website experience. It's very cute.
I'll have to go take a look.
Yeah.
And it's something. All of this sounds very boutique.
Yeah.
Like very, very like not necessarily bougie, but like a little bit like
niche audiences. I think it's
yeah. Like into a different type of audience than old stodgy white dude with crown on cover of game cover.
These people don't need to know who Catan, like what Catan is. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, that's not like it's fine.
Yeah, one of the biggest compliments I've received are people saying that they don't like to play games, but they like to play my games. I'm like, that's
right.
Amazing. Yeah. That's so cool to hear.
James Takanaka, who's from Hit Point, James says, it's very interesting to hear how you have built up your own distribution network. Everyone has their own path to success. Very true, very true. And like Amy
is important.
Yeah, is like a self-made person. So let's actually talk about your games. We have, I don't know when you came up with this name, but when you said it to me one day, it's like, yes, that's exactly what you make. Conversation games, right? These games that you can have a conversation around. It's not about the points. It's not about actually maybe even what's happening between the three cards that are being played. It's the conversation that happens before and after and during the gameplay that makes, I think, your games different and special and really interesting, where the conversation is generated by the game, but it doesn't stop at the game. It usually continues and makes you go down like rabbit holes and go look up the traditional sacred number of this country or whatever, right? So how did you come across conversation games as like your milieu, your oeuvre, the thing that you do?
Well, I didn't set out to do it at all. I truly didn't. I mean, I think that I just wanted to create the experiences that I wanted to have. So the more conversations that are positive, or not even positive. I don't like toxic positivity. We don't need to be all rainbows, and happiness 24/7.
Just cakes on the walls.
Cakes. You do need cake though. No. Sorry, that took my brain off track.
So not toxic positivity.
No toxic positivity, but no, I want to create the experiences that I wanted to have, which to me meant having conversations that were nuanced, that were not black and white, that showed that we all have these gray areas. That, like, so even in You Think You Know Me, there are lots of either ors or do or don'ts. Well, you can make a guess for how someone would answer, but ultimately, you're probably going to end up having a talk or a laugh over people's different ways they approach whatever the card says or is about. And those are my sorts of favorite things are to experience people opening up or learning something about themselves in conversation. Just sharing time together. That's it. Just sharing time. That's often one-on-one is probably my favorite, but in small groups, with eye contact, all these things that pandemic times has made really hard. And then Flatter Me came about from, I was super inspired by all of the text messages from like a tight knit group of friends here in Portland. So we were always like hyping each other up, right? This text chain was just like, you're this, you're that, you're amazing. And I was like, what if I put these on cards and we had to like throw them down and play like war. And that's how that came. So yeah.
That's so fun. And then Rabbit, you said, how did that actually start? Because I know you talked about the research, but how did you even start researching?
Well, it was Christmas time or just after Christmas, 2019, and I was at my in-laws' house in Southern California, and I pulled up an article on my phone about New Year's superstitions, and I started reading them aloud to friends and family that were in the room, and everyone was like glued, so interested, and I was like, oh, is there a game about this? And that's how it started. And I looked it up, and I was like, there was like a game from the 80s, a board game, and I was like, oh, that's adorable, but like, what if I just made a fun trivia game that was all these superstitions? Like, how many could I find? How many could I collect? And
apparently a lot.
I found over 1,000. I researched so many. Yeah.
So it sounds like you did a ton of work to make that happen.
I tried, and I tried to talk to people, and really narrow it down, make sure things weren't offensive. I'm still afraid that I added something offensive. I'm terrified, but I really tried to do my homework, and I tried. I really tried, and I love it. I love the game, and I love all the cards, so I hope people like it.
And there's so many variations of these things too. So I'm sure even if someone's like, that's not, you're like, well, that's someone's version. I promise you.
Right.
It's not exactly yours.
That's in the rule booklet. I was like, if your superstition is different,
because anything that's like handed down, verbally, right? Who knows
they get mutated over time, right?
It's the game of telephone since the beginning of time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like we were talking about off air. We were talking about word etymology, and it's the same thing. Like, where do words come from? And I learned today, why the the word like enough, why enough doesn't have
GH is it?
Yeah, why the GH isn't sounded and all this kind of stuff. I learned all about weightlifting and the history of like weightlifting and CrossFit and all this stuff in America, and
I know about American.
The American weightlifting team and all that kind of stuff is very, very, very strange. I listen to lots and lots of podcasts. I think podcasts are the best.
I did listen to it for a really long time, so yeah.
Let's talk about the next thing on the list, which is all these things: hope, kindness, inclusion, and authenticity. So we've already talked a little bit about inclusion. In terms of sexuality, in terms of neurodiversity. Can we talk about authenticity first? Because when you wrote that word to me, it's like, yeah.
You don't hear games described as that very often.
And the thing is, though, that Amy, just as a person, always strikes me as a very authentic person. Like, Amy's just Amy. Like, there's no the pretense.
There's
there's no pretense. It's just Amy is Amy. And you're just Amy. And Amy's awesome. And so when she wrote that to me the other day, authenticity as something she wanted to talk about, it's like, yes, Amy should talk about that because that is a word that really suits her. So how do you think gaming can bring about authenticity?
Well, I don't know if gaming can bring about authenticity. I hope people can. I love that word, and I think it's important because I think when you're playing my games or playing games like my games, any kind of conversation game or I don't yeah anything that starts asking you questions about yourself, whether they're serious or heavy, that if you show up to the table in an authentic way, you will also encourage the people around you, hopefully, to also feel comfortable to show up in an authentic way. And if you really start seeing each other, then that brings out greater understanding. Maybe you don't agree, but you see everyone as their own person, and there's hopefully a comfort level that comes with that. And later, positive memories. You get up from that table and you're like, that was so good,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the hope. If you bring your authentic self into any experience, I hope that's what happens. I hope it's positive.
Yeah, but I think your games can actually do that, like more than other games can,
Thank you.
because they ask the questions about reflection, like reflecting on yourself. Like, you think you know me, well, you don't, and here's why. Or, I'm going to tell you a story about why that's true or why that's not true. And I think a lot of the conversational pieces, if you add in that reflective piece, like, or maybe not add it, but people just do that by human nature, might reflect upon these questions within, what we call the magic circle of a game, where it's like,
Mhm.
you're free to do these things. I can talk about these things. I have permission. It's playful.
Mhm.
And it's like sacred circle. And in this sacred circle, it's almost like Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in a game is all kind of, fair. It doesn't mean that we're going to be mean to each other, but it means I can be vulnerable. I can be authentic, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Or it's
think
more about
your game,
understanding, right, than necessarily like it's a chance to be vulnerable or to share, because I think everybody kind of don't get me wrong, some people just talk about themselves anyway, but I think everyone kind
sure.
of wants to chance to kind of explain a bit more about how they see things, and so games that allow them to kind of, I think like this, or I do this, you know what I mean? It's a chance to get to know people on that very much internal level.
Hmm.
Right.
And it's different than a lot of party games. A lot of party games are performative, right? And your
It's more
goal is
what's
to
the
make people
funniest thing to
laugh.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always subjective to the group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily authentic, right? Whereas a lot of the games that you're thinking about and making, especially that one that you told me about that we can't talk about, Zip, that you're making with Elliot, like that's going to hopefully help people express their authenticity, not even in the game, but outside of the game, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're going there in terms of, you know, positivity, personal growth, all that kinds of stuff. And I think that's really, really interesting. Um, oh, I don't know, Erica, did Lisa and Peter talk to you ever about stuff? The Walk-ins? Did Peter ever talk to you about his thing?
That I think, yeah, that, oh, we need to get into that more. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, I know that we are going to have Lisa potentially come on to talk about her stuff, but I
Yeah.
didn't get into it too much yet.
Okay, so I'll talk about it now because I can. 'Cause it's right
Sure.
here. So this is Pruning. This is a game that is designed by Lisa Walken, Dr. Lisa Walken, who is Peter Walken's wife. That's how we know her.
I was
Peter
yeah,
Walken
also graphic
is a great
designer.
graphic designer. He does a lot of games, and they've started making these, which is through what they call Bolster Leadership. It is a business that Lisa's put together to use games to do like leadership kind of seminar type things where you're basically
Training.
going through a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, training. Going through a deck of cards like maybe 10, 15 minutes a day for like a month. And you'll hopefully, by the end of that, have a better you. And so I think games like this or things that are like gamified but not gamified in the way that you think about gamification, turned into a game, made into a game is a better way to say that.
Incentivized learning. Let's call it
But
incentivized learning.
it's not, because there's no incentive here.
Well,
It's just in the format of a game, right?
The entertainment is the incentive when I refer that way. That you've changed into something slightly more interesting. So
yes, the
now
format.
I'm incentivized to do your program instead of someone else's for what I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. So something like this is like, this is just one-on-one. It's very reflective. Like you read the cards and you reflect upon them and you think about it, you write down your answers, and you might be asked to go look at them later and compare to an answer that you get like 2 weeks from then. So it's really, really cool. And I think there's like space in corporate training, space in just regular day-to-day gaming with family and friends for all this type of stuff where we're talking about, inclusion, kindness, authenticity, hope. What are some other words that, you've heard your games described as, that you thought, oh, that's what it is. That's what my games are about.
Well, I can tell you a couple of stories that are probably my favorites, and you've probably heard them, but hopefully there'll be a few people that haven't heard them. One of my favorite stories about You Think You Know Me was a mom DM'd me and told me that playing with her teenage son that experiences autism, that he was able through the game to be like, you always put me in these boxes, you always make these assumptions about me, and there's so much you don't know about me. Like, he literally was just able to express that better, and like we were just saying, in this like place where they were playing the game, and it changed their relationship and their dynamic, and it was so that is like, I mean, there's no way I could have hoped for anything as cool.
That's like the pinnacle of feedback, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's introducing what it is too. There's elements of, and I mean this in a totally positive way, there's elements of therapy in this. This release, this excuse to, explore or express, right? Which, let's be honest, how many things let you do that legitimately?
Right. I should say I'm not a therapist. I'm not.
Well, no, we're not just saying that.
No, but I just want to say that.
Opening people up to feel confident or comfortable sharing is a huge, I think, the huge part of why people tend to seek this like therapy in the first place. And so funny, I think this is feeding into a similar need and zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Yeah, just on that note, Andrew Will said that he's seen authenticity backfire too, where people have really gotten feelings hurt because others have used a game as an excuse for bad behavior. So it can be a fine line, and I that's definitely true.
I totally get that, and it's something that I keep in my mind. I haven't experienced it firsthand. Oddly enough, I don't know if it's because just I'm in the room and it's my game, So like you're never going to have like. No one's ever told me that.
It could be that rare person just looking for an excuse. It would be whatever game they could justify that type of behavior, right? Like if someone's going to do something like that, the game is definitely not the catalyst. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
The game is like a vehicle.
The game is just what they're using to get out whatever it is that's the issue with them.
It's just sad that it sours other people on that game or gaming in general, right? So I mean, I've seen so many people do silly things.
Yeah.
In the name of it's just a game, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, not the way they're playing. That's when people are like, oh, but it's just business. You're like, well, I'm pretty sure you're a person and I'm a person, so.
I have another funny story. I love this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've told you this one. My mother-in-law, funny enough, she is one of those people who's a table flipper, if she doesn't win, right?
Yeah.
So she loves my games and she doesn't care if she wins. Like, she's literally been,
oh my gosh,
she's like, I don't care, I just want to keep playing. And I'm like, who are you?
You're like, oh, we found that good zone for you.
Yeah, I mean
that's it too, right? Because while there are games like yours that have win conditions, are there really win conditions in the end? And is anyone really keeping score?
I feel like I can't call them games if they don't have a win stick.
I know, right?
They do, but in the end, you can ignore it and still feel like you got the same validation in the game. Like, I find a lot of party games can do that. If you genuinely enjoyed it, you kind of don't care who actually won.
Yeah.
The scoring is still in, like, it's still in there. It's still completely built in the game. It's not an add-on, but you don't have to. Is its own experience.
Right.
I mean, that's a good question for the audience. So, audience, what do you think about games where the score doesn't matter? Is it still a game? I mean, I'm here to say it is, but what do you think about that? Do you think games that don't have scoring, where the scores don't matter or whatever, the party games, are they more activities or games? Not that that is a debate that we should really have, but I do want to know, what do people think in terms of when you design something that is just something that people want to play over and over again and don't care about the score? Isn't that better than it necessitating
If it's
a score?
getting constant repeated play, I would say yes.
And I should say my mother-in-law is not the only person. I won't name any other names, but other people have also reached out to me and said that they never touch games because they get so mad and they get like so riled up that they want to win, or they get really, really competitive.
Certain people who are allowed to play sports, because you're like, oh my god, you're crazy. Like,
but they say they like playing my games. So because that pressure isn't there, I mean, at least they're not feeling it. Like they're just enjoying the moment, which that's great. Yeah.
Well, I think there's another reward in your games, that most of them have this real kind of learning aspect to it. And I'm not talking factual. I'm talking like, well, I mean, sure, Rabbit has facts in it, but right. But I'm saying there's like some learning in it. Like I learn about myself, or I learn about you, or I learn about our relationship, or I learn about, what you really think about me in a positive light. And that is kind of worthwhile. And a lot of the other thing that your games do is they tend to spotlight the actual player, like not some avatar of that player, not like a figure of a wizard or a knight that I'm playing. No, it's me.
Whoever you're
right?
pretending to represent.
I am the player, right? Yeah, it's legitimate. It's authentic, right?
Yeah. If I'm giving you a compliment, it's because I want you to have that compliment. I see that in you. Like, yeah, that is why I'm giving it to you. That is why you get that card. Yeah.
Yeah. So on my question, Adam Youngs does, still a game. Quality of the experience depends more on the people. Sometimes I like structure because there's something distressing about surrendering to a system that isn't designed to hurt you, or that isn't a job, if that makes sense. There's something fun about riffing with friends, especially when comedic or wholesome. And then Andrew Wolf says, I agree. Games don't have to have win conditions to be fun.
Cool.
Right?
Great.
So I think we're all on the right track here. Kindness. Let's talk about the word kindness. How do you envision kindness being embodied in games, or can games bring out kindness? Is there a way to use gaming to help people learn to be kind? Kindness? What do you think? Yeah. There's so many ways to do this.
Yeah, I think my first thought, for some reason, it was just like the antithesis to anything rude, right? So I don't want people to. There's no punching down. You know what I mean? There's no punching at all. Like, and I don't want to encourage any violence or cruelty of any kind. I don't want to highlight any of that. So you just won't come across it. Like each thing that I write that's going to go in my games just won't have that. And again, it's not being like positive and smiles all the time. There's a lot of serious stuff in my games for sure. But I just hope no one gets hurt. I'm not going to write anything that's going to hurt anyone. I really hope I don't. I really, really.
Right.
Yeah.
You're trying to put out into the world what you want to see come back, right?
It sounds like you're also trying to encourage a type of behavior. Like, if someone goes the wrong way, I don't think that was the intent of what was being encouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a game that purposely encourages, like, you to put the two funniest phrases together that just happen to be misogynistic or racist, but they get a good laugh.
Think somebody else is going to find funny. You know what I mean? Most of the time, too.
It's that performative stuff again, too. You can be performative and be silly and kind, too. Like, it's very possible.
Right.
That's all very possible. And that's what I like to lean on. I did have one person tell me that playing You Think You Know Me with her kids, she would lie to them so the game would continue.
That's awesome. That's like, there you go.
Just because she wanted to learn more about her own kids.
She was just like, nope, you're wrong again. Draw again. I was like, that's amazing. Poor
It
kid.
sounds like a lot of your games are also really good at building relationships between people, right? Which is
Hope so.
what you talked about at the beginning, right? Where you said, I really like those one-on-one encounters
Yes.
or small groups,
Hmm.
that intimacy, right? That kind of um, finding out about each other through this particular format, and this format seems to work for you. So I think that's really cool.
Thanks.
Um, I added this word because this was originally why Erica and I wanted to talk to you. In these dark days of pandemic, um, the word hope came up, and I don't know if you came up before hope came up, or if hope came up and we all said Amy in response to the word hope.
Embodies
Um,
hope.
yeah, what came first, the chicken or the Amy? We don't know. But uh, can you talk to us about hope and how you see, other than the whole weird shipping fiasco a couple weeks ago, um, how did you keep hopeful with your games during this time when stuff was up in the air? You are, a small company, one person with some help, but how did you do that? And how did you survive during this time when the supply chain is going all haywire and people aren't meeting in spaces to play games, and your games seem to be that kind of game where people
Yeah.
will meet together? How did you get through that?
Sometimes I don't know where the hope comes from. It just comes. I think I probably use two words uh, the most in my head and probably out loud, and that's love and hope. Like, if I'm even feeling down, I'm just going to be like, I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope, because what else can I do? My grandma always used to say, life is so uncertain. So if I can look at the bright side at all, then I'm going to. And if I'm healthy, if my husband and my child are healthy and we're okay, then I will always have hope. And for some reason, I just wanted to work all through the pandemic. The more I read, the more I studied, the more I wrote, that kept me really hopeful and really just moving forward. I was like, I'm going to keep making things. I'm going to keep moving forward.
Energized you kind of. Yeah.
Hmm.
And it really fueled me. I'm so glad I have this work. I'm so glad I have it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have felt like. Honestly, it makes me want to tear up. Like, I don't know what I would have felt like if I didn't have the work that kept me hopeful, and the hope kept me working.
Right. Did you feel at any time like if you stopped, you would just literally like stop?
Probably, yeah, yeah. I had.
I think momentum's a huge thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yeah.
I mean, I started Pink Tiger Games. I hired the artist to do the logo and everything in April 2020. Like, that's what I was doing. I was like, I'm building. I'm going to keep building this. I don't know what the world is going to do. I don't know how we're all going to survive, but this is what I'm going to do in the meantime, because it's going to
make this.
Yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to keep going.
Yeah, we were in the same boat with Off the Pages for Jay's company. It's like we were running the Kickstarter and, 2 days left, and all of a sudden the world shuts down, and what's going to happen? And I mean, luckily we got everything in before the supply chain went completely nutty. But, yeah, it's been a hard time, and it's just, you got to keep moving forward in the hope that things are getting better. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Right?
Yes.
What's the option?
You
The other
have,
option is just,
there's no other control you have other than what you're thinking and feeling ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great mentality.
Yeah. It's
I also kept exercising, which also helps my brain as well, and my mental health, my body health.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was talking to my class today about dialectical thinking. Dialectical thinking, for those of you who don't really know what it is the ability to kind of understand that not everything is set in stone, that stuff is up in the air, you can't control it, and you're okay with that. And for a lot of people, they can't do this. They have a big problem with dialectical thinking. And this is like post-formal thinking in terms of, uh, thinking patterns and cognitive patterns. But the idea of not being able to do that must have been so difficult for lots of people during this time, where they can't see outside of the blackness that they're getting told day in and day out on the media cycles. So
So
they
hard.
can't
Yeah.
self-reset because they need the other stimulus.
It's
Like
heartbreaking.
that's ultimately
Oh,
right.
Yeah, it's partly that. It's also partly that they need to control it, right? They
There's
want to be in
no
control of it,
control
and they know
there.
they
Yeah.
can't. No, and there's nothing you can do for that stuff. So sometimes it is like you just got to let it go and hope for the best, really. So I think that games are an interesting thing for in that regard. A lot of times, like in a game, we're rolling the dice and we're hoping for the best. And a lot of times in games, we're also we don't know if people are going to buy our games. We have some ideas, maybe,
hope,
but
hope,
but a
hope.
lot of times, yeah,
It
hopefully,
is hope.
right?
It's hope and hope, luck, timing, all kinds of things. But definitely the
Yeah,
hope is a big factor.
Mhm.
yeah. So I'm really glad we got to talk to you today because I haven't been great over the last couple of weeks mentally either. So it's been good to get this reinvigorated talk about hope and kindness and inclusion and authenticity because I need that too. I think we all need that little bit of positivity in our life to kind of right the ship when the ship isn't necessarily going the way it's supposed to or you thought it would and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's always good to have these kinds of conversations. And if there's a game that can help us have these kind of conversations, whether you're a therapist or not, things can be therapeutic without it being run or designed by a therapist. That is
Yeah,
completely
just
okay.
dive a little
Thanks.
deeper into self, right? That's ultimately
Yeah,
what you're asking. Is like just either be open or thoughtful.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Remain open and thoughtful for sure.
For sure, for sure, for sure. All right. So we've talked for like 57 minutes, Amy. That's a whole bunch of time. Amy, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
You can find me at pinktigergames.com, and all of my socials are connected from there. Pink Tiger Games on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and my personal is Heart Shaped Sky. And then, of course, at Flatter Me Cards, YTYKM cards, you think you know me,
Oh,
and Rabbit Rabbit Game. And rabbitrabbitgame.com, is that what it is? I don't even know. Rabbit Rabbit.
Look
I
it
don't
up.
remember.
You'll find it.
It's brand
you'll
new.
find it.
Rabbit
For sure,
Rabbit
you'll find it.
Games. Rabbit Rabbit. The website is brand new and it's up. Yeah.
There you go. And Amy, your email is ami@pinktigergames.com. If you'd like to get copies, if you'd like to order them for your store, check it out. There you go.
Yeah.
Erica, where can people reach you?
At Erica Buyuris will pretty much guarantee to get to me.
Anywhere you look, right? And myself as well, at Senfeng Lim on Twitter and kind of anywhere. It's something like that. Just search for those words and you'll find me. Alara, who will be back in business with us in the new year at TT Void. They're actually looking at their Twitter. So strike while it's hot. And if you want to reach us directly at Meeple Syrup, it's at Meeple Syrup on Twitter as well. If you'd like to support the show to see more awesome guests like Amy, and now that the world is kind of opening up, Erica, I saw Erica at a con on the weekend for all of like 5 minutes.
We were like a little baby prototyping con. We did it.
Yeah. And I went to pick up alcohol of all things from Daryl to give to Mark, who lives in London. I was there for a different reason. So I didn't really play any games, but I got to see a couple people and bump elbows with Eric Lang and Chris Chung and Daniel Rocky and Erica and Shannon and Tim and Rod and who else was there? Daryl, of
We
course.
haven't
And
seen in like,
yeah,
oh my God, how long?
I know, right? And it was great just to say hi and then run out of the room with a bottle of Jägermeister. That is literally what happened. But my point being, as I digress, is that we're going to be back in cons. Hopefully, at least in 2022, April will be at least one con for Erica and myself. We'll see where else we get to, but we'd like to definitely use some of the Patreon funding to help other people do things or get to cons, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. We've got plans, but it doesn't work well when Alara's
We
in
can't
a
go
different,
anywhere.
yeah, in a totally different time zone. So we're gonna figure that all out.
I'm going to my first con in March.
Ooh,
What?
where are you going?
Where
Yeah.
you going? Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, right, from the
Fellowship.
fellowship. Yes, yes, yes. That's awesome. Oh, by the way, what is Heart-Shaped Sky Closet all about?
Heart-Shaped Sky First is my name online that I've used for, I don't know, 3,000 years maybe. And Heart-Shaped, it's about 3,000. And then Heart-Shaped Closet 2021 is me trying to go through my clothes and just post them online. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to wear, well, because 2020 was staying home, right? And wearing my leggings every day and just working out and sitting on the couch and working. So in 2021, not that I did a whole lot of different stuff, but I did a few other things and got to wear more of my clothes. I collect clothes. I love clothes. So
yeah, if you follow Amy on social media, you'll see she has some of the most interesting clothes. It's so awesome.
I mean, this is my fourth time I've done a year-long project on Instagram. I did 2014. I did Upside Down 2014. So I did all upside down photos all year. I did handstands everywhere. And then
that sounds like you.
I did it again in 2016. And then I've done a couple more. Yeah.
That's so funny. The last one I think I saw was like this Adidas jacket with like giant poofy sleeves at the end.
Yeah.
Like nothing up my sleeve. Yes, there's definitely something up those sleeves. You can fit like a whale in those sleeves.
Yeah.
All right, Amy, can you give a piece of final advice to our listeners about either design or publication or anything about games that you think you would like to give them?
I think in games, as in life, I've learned along the way that you should try to be as true to yourself as possible. If you can do that, I think that people will. The people who need to find you will find you, and you'll find your people. So being true to yourself. That's my biggest one. Yeah, that's what I kind of try to live by.
I think that's amazing. Authenticity counts. So next week on the Meeple Syrup Show, we're going to have Mr. Mike Raftopoulos. He works for Meeples on Board Vanguard, Mob Vanguard, out of Greece, and he is one of, if not the most prolific localizer out there. He takes games and gets them into stores and publishers in other countries. So that's what we're going to talk about next week, because it's fascinating and it's interesting. It's another part of publication and game design that you probably don't think about that much, but it's super important for those of you out there who are looking to get your games into other countries and other languages. Come on and ask your questions to Mr. Raftopoulos next week. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, and maybe next week, I don't know if Mr. Wolf will be here on a Wednesday. He can co-host from your place to
I think he actually is.
Yeah, I don't know if he's here on Wednesday. He's saying, "Oh, so excited! I'll be in Toronto next week."
No,
That's my Andrew voice.
I think he's here by then.
Yeah, if you're here on a Wednesday, Andrew, you jump on the mic and you can co-host with Erica.
I can go to bed early and he can be the guest instead.
Oh, that's totally fine. Or you could be the host and we'll have another guest. Totally fine. Yeah. Because he'll totally be on like West Coast time. Right? He won't have adjusted yet. So Erica can go to sleep and get a rest. That'll be good. Andrew can like earn his rent by like doing this. He's like, deal. Deal. There you go. All right. Excellent. So we'll make that happen. If not next week, the week after. And you know what? If I can get down on the weekend. So it's not this weekend. It'd be the next weekend. Erica,
he's coming. Not this weekend. He's coming like I think whatever day it was, Tuesday, something like that. When one of the days he'll say next week, because then he's got Thanksgiving off. So that's why he's coming next week.
Oh, okay, cool. And then so he will be over the weekend. So if I can make it down to Toronto to see you, Andrew, I will. No promises right now, but we'll see.
I appreciate you both. I hope I get to meet you someday in person.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. So thank you, everybody, for watching the show. We'll be back next week again. Mike Raftopoulos, Mob Vanguard, localization. Be here in 7 days to see more of the same, sadly without Amy. All right, on that note, we'll see you later.
I'm always here. I'm always here.
Yeah, you can find her everywhere. She's everywhere. All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.